This is a film about the principles of behavior modification and how they can be applied in business and industry. It is designed for all levels of management, from line to staff operations. The film features Dr. B.F. Skinner, author of Walden 2 and Beyond Freedom and Dignity. The film also features Edward Feeney, Vice President, Systems Performance at Emery Air Freight. Mr. Feeney illustrates and interprets how Dr. Skinner's principles of behavior modification were successfully used at Emery, and how they can be applied in any industrial setting to improve performance and increase profits. Dr. Skinner, one of this century's most influential psychologists, is recognized as the world's foremost authority on the study of human behavior. He asserts that we are wholly shaped by our environment, that our present behavior is determined by society's reactions, both positive and negative, to our past behavior. Dr. Skinner's critics contend that this concept ignores man's capability to respond in a unique and creative manner. They also claim that he seeks to destroy the belief in individual freedom on which our culture is based.
Because I'm not attacking freedom, I'm not attacking dignity, I'm not attacking anything on which a successful government could possibly be based. It's just, I'm talking about something beyond these things. I'm not for depriving people of freedom. I want them to feel free as much as they've ever felt free, and I'd like to have that, like to have them feel freer than they do now. And I want people to be achievers. I don't want to deprive them of the chance to do the things for which we give them credit. But much more is possible, and I think we are failing to do the kinds of things that we could do because we are misunderstanding what we mean by freedom and dignity, and it's standing in our way.
Well, perhaps we better talk about some of the terms so that we will be sure exactly what we mean. What is behaviorism, and where did it come from?
Well, behaviorism, of course, came from, that was a word coined, I think, by Watson. At least it became very current in Watson's day, which is now over 50 years ago, as we must remember. What we now understand is that there is a much more intimate relation between behavior and the environment in which the organism exists at the moment, the environment to which it's been exposed in the past, and of course, via genetic endowment, through the effect of the environment on the evolution of the species. So that behavior is, rather than attributing it to states of mind, feelings, and that kind of thing, you attribute it to an environmental history. That's what I mean by behaviorism, and that's, I think, what has always been the essential position.
What is operant conditioning?
Rewards and punishments are what the layman thinks of. Well, they're special cases, but they're not general enough to cover the thing. You get an organism doing something, and if you then make a reinforcer contingent upon what he's doing, he'll tend to do it again. And the reinforcers you use in the laboratory are the simple ones, like food for a hungry organism or water for a thirsty one. But in daily life, all kinds of things are reinforcing. I gave a lecture at the Guggenheim some time ago in which I claimed that the word beautiful simply means reinforcing. Pictures reinforce you when you look at them. And if they do, you look at them again. If you don't, you turn somewhere else.
Well, is anything reinforcing that causes you to repeat the behavior?
Not causes to repeat, but makes it more probable that you will repeat, yes. The word reinforce means to strengthen. It doesn't mean to weaken. And a positive reinforcer strengthens when you present it, contingent upon behavior. So what's positive reinforcing for one person isn't reinforcing for another. There's no way of predicting in advance what is going to be reinforcing to a given individual. If you've just eaten a meal and been terribly sick, the sight of food will be terribly punishing to you. Ordinarily, if you're hungry, food is reinforcing.
Suppose I'm a businessman who says, I don't want to use behavioral technology because I don't want to control my employees' behavior. Am I already controlling them?
Well, of course. There's no businessman who isn't concerned about the ways in which his employees work. If he simply abandons them and allows them to do as they please in the permissive world, he's going to go out of business very soon. He won't be a businessman very long.
What part does fear play in shaping employee behavior?
Well, we fall back on punitive control all the time. We stop to think about it. Even the wages that we pay they're not really positive reinforcers. When you pay a man at the end of the week, 5 o'clock on Friday, for working all week, he's not going to work on Monday morning for something he gets on Friday afternoon. He'd be a fool to do that. He works on Monday morning. He'll be fired if he doesn't. So he's working all day long under the eyes of a supervisor who can fire him. All the weekly thing does is to give him a standard of living, and all week long he's being threatened with being taken off that standard of living. So the whole thing looks like positive reinforcement, but is really aversive. The incentive conditions that prevail in a factory are the result of a kind of bargaining between the owners and the workers. And the owners will do everything they can to get more work for less pay. The workers will do everything they can to get more pay for less work. And they get together and somehow or other they work out a prevailing system. It happens to be one in which almost nobody enjoys what he's doing. And it doesn't matter to either the labor or the owners whether they are enjoying it or not. These are not good incentive systems. There have been at times situations in which people have enjoyed what they did, and they've been very active, they've been very careful and precise, and they've got a big bang out of it. Now that isn't what happens when you arrive at a set of conditions by a bargaining technique between two opposing forces. How are you going to persuade both parties that they'd be much better off if they allowed someone to come in and work out some really good incentive conditions?
Does a behavior modification system, once instituted, place demands upon supervisors and managers without reinforcing them too?
Well, no, it would reinforce the manager because he's going to get more done, and he's being paid in terms of how much he gets done. Supervisors are an in-between figure, but there again, it is a question of making sure of the contingencies for everybody, all the way from the worker to the person who owns the system and is getting his profits out of this, and that not to mention how much this is contributing to the good of the culture as a whole. If this company is making some perfectly worthless thing, then the whole thing is a total loss, except for the immediate gains of the workers and the owners, which are perhaps trivial compared with what it's doing to the culture.
And if I would institute behavior modification in my plant, I would be reinforced when the profits went up.
Well, I should suppose so. And this is not a form of stretch out in which you're just getting more out of the worker. No, you are taking into account not how much he's producing so much as whether he's going to stay on the job or change jobs or be absent and so on. Whether the job is reinforcing to the worker now is becoming more important than just how much he produces.
Suppose I have a large business and I want to use behavior modification in a systematic way to increase productivity.
No.
How would I set about it?
Well, there's a very good example of that. There's a company that is concerned with air freight shipments, and they were having great losses because the people who packed the things to be shipped were not using the right containers. Now, someone who believed in positive reinforcement, rather than going in and punishing these people or firing them when they used the wrong ones, simply said to the supervisors, look, when you see a man using the right container, pat him on the back and say, that's the right container, good for you. And the last figures I heard is that the company is now saved about $250,000.
Actually, it wasn't $250,000. It was $650,000. Sounds complicated, doesn't it? It isn't. The application of two simple behavioral science principles produced the following effects in Emery Air Freight. Increased profits well over $1 million annually, produced the improvement immediately, sustained it for upwards of 3 years, produced a net profit payoff of up to 125 to 1 to costs, and produced valuable side effects in terms of employee attitudes, both union and non-union. The two simple principles that the performance problems in most companies are caused by improper feedback and by failure to reward employees properly. Given proper information and feedback, the employees know that a problem exists and are able to correct it. In contrast, in most organizations, good performance is ignored and poor performance is occasionally punished. In Emery Air Freight, Proper feedback systems and positive reinforcement are applied in areas only where a performance deficiency exists and where a direct or indirect profit opportunity exists. As an air freight forwarder, 62% of our total expenses goes to the airlines for moving freight. If we load smaller packages into one large shipping container, we reduce the airline handling costs, and they in turn give us a lower rate. Workers and supervisors, regional representatives, and executive office personnel all sincerely believed we were using containers about 95% of the times possible. We decided to have the workers measure their performance. They found it to be not 95%, but 45%, a feedback deficiency. Many solutions were suggested: hire more people, pay more, provide better supervision, build bigger docks, develop a training program. Now, all of these cost money. We decided to try to change performance simply by changing consequences, namely feedback and positive reinforcement. The dock workers began to measure their own performance by using a simple checklist. The checklist, maintained by the individual worker, is the core of the feedback process. It provides him with an up-to-the-minute record of his work activity, which he could compare to the established goal. They pass the information up to the supervisors and managers. Then we taught each supervisor and manager, tier by tier, to reward through praise and recognition for good performance.
How are you doing there on your containerization? Very good. That'll probably put us in, about 94%,
This is positive reinforcement.
Real good.
That is, rewarding the employee for improvement in relation to the performance goal.
Real nice. Keep up that, we'll be up to 100% before long. Real nice.
From 45% of standard, what do you think performance rose to before we tried more expensive solutions? It rose to 95%. How soon? One day. The cost of the program, $5,000. $100 for printing up the forms for the feedback program, and $4,900 for travel expenses and salary costs for the change agent traveling between key offices in the United States. The cost of praise and recognition, nothing. We applied the same principles to other performance areas which fell short of our goals. We wanted our customer service personnel to make all customer service callbacks by phone within 90 minutes. We began a program of self-feedback and positive reinforcement. By reinforcing any improvement in behavior, even a small one, we made it more likely that that behavior would reoccur. In this way, by rewarding each level of improvement, performance rapidly rose from 30% to 90% of standard, our desired goal.
Corliss, I see your call count isn't up to the volume we have set for you. You are keeping track of them, and you're doing an excellent job on all those that you're taking. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Dr. Skinner calls this technique shaping. Isn't this manipulation? This is a word with the wrong connotations. A manager can't avoid influencing his employee. When a behavior occurs, either the manager rewards, doesn't reward, or punishes. Each has an effect. This really is a question asked by people unaware of their great influence on others.
Do you want that picked up in the shipping department? Okay, we'll send some of that to it for you. Thank you.
Can you trust people to measure themselves? Yes. Reward people for reporting honestly, that is below standard, and you will continue to get valid figures. But punish those reporting performance below standard, and the reports may be altered. The computer area, where productivity was increased 20%, provides a good example of a principle that applies to all performance areas, the scheduling of positive reinforcement. The timing and spacing of how often a worker is rewarded is very important. Dr. Skinner calls this a schedule of reinforcement.
Morning, Pete. Hi, Arnie. I see you exceeded your goal of 30 an hour. That's very good.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
We scheduled rewards so that more reinforcement was given at the outset for slight improvement, for every improvement, and then on a diminishing intermittent schedule. We found that once desired behavior was established, individual feedback structured positively, that is, what am I doing well, became rewarding. Positive reinforcement by a superior could be gradually decreased, though not eliminated. Performance, however, remained high. John, normally you send this feedback to us in Wilton, Connecticut, but since I'm here in Los Angeles, how are you doing sales-wise? Another essential point about positive reinforcement and feedback is that these techniques are applicable to all levels of company operations. We found that they worked equally well, whether they were applied to dock workers, supervisors, or managers and executives.
Which we report on.
Very good.
A specific example, pickup calls answered in service in 30 seconds. They're performing at 97% efficiency here.
That's as close to perfection as you're going to get. Excellent. One way our sales managers maintain sales performance is by praising the salesman and also teaching them a process called the post-call learning cycle, whereby the salesman reviews his own performance, finds the cause of any problems or successes, and applies them to a future sales call.
Reinforcing superior performance. To give you an example, in sales, our salesmen are averaging 28% OA, observable action.
That's about as high as I've heard. Excellent.
Well, it's down there doubly standard of 15%.
Our drivers represent one of the most important groups at Emery Air Freight. They must work alone, out of sight of the supervisor.
Are you with the pickup?
Right, Thank you.
They usually provide the only face-to-face contact with the customer. The cost per pickup and delivery is the second highest expense item in the company.
Okay, thanks a
Thank
lot.
you very
We'll
much.
see you tomorrow. Bye.
Measurement, feedback, and positive reinforcement are applied to key payoff areas in driver and dispatcher performance. One simple device adds a few columns to the driver's delivery manifest. As the driver delivers a shipment, he places a tick mark on the first day or second day column and totals it at the end of the day. Time for this operation, 1 minute per day per driver. The percentage of pickups made in 90 minutes after ready time is measured, and feedback is provided to both drivers and dispatchers. The number of pickup and delivery stops per hour, the key to service improvement and cost control, is also measured and computed. Even the total cost per shipment is calculated. Performance is rewarded. Productivity improved in 8 of the first 10 offices where the program was introduced.
George, I noticed you made 24 deliveries today in addition to picking up 12 shipments. That's very good in 8 hours. Very good. That was pretty good. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good day myself. What is this one up here now? Oh, this round, this is Canoga Park.
Is praise the only reward used? No. Many rewards can be used. Self-recognition of progress, awareness of personal contribution to profit improvement, even being asked for one's opinion about how to improve performance.
Park first, and then come back around through over to Burbank and back Riverside, back up through North Hollywood, and back in this area. We're going to save 35, 40 minutes.
George, that sounds like a good idea to me. Let's try it.
All right, we'll give it a try tomorrow.
Great.
In summary, remember these 2 principles. Correct the feedback deficiencies and reward performance. And try these solutions before you try more expensive solutions. And good luck. I hope you have as much success and profits from using these 2 principles as we've had here at Emery Air Freight.
I'm not for depriving people of freedom. I want them to feel free as much as they've ever felt free. And I'd like to have that, like to have them feel freer than they do now. And I want people to be achievers. A positive reinforcer strengthens when you present it, contingent upon behavior. There's no businessman who isn't concerned about the ways in which his employees work. Whether the job is reinforcing to the worker now is becoming more important than just how much he produces. It is a question of making sure of the contingencies for everybody, all the way from the worker to the person who owns the system and is getting his profits out of this.